Glowing up externally and only focusing on that is temporary, and it is just a band-aid. If you really want to glow up, you should focus on glowing up internally, because ultimately what you feel on the inside, like what you truly genuinely feel on the inside, will reflect on the outside. I'm gonna need you to listen to me very carefully. Never ever ever say or internalize the words "I'm too old," "I'm too young," or "it's too late," because no, it's not. Those words may seem really harmless, but they are literally a trap to keep you locked in mediocrity. And listen, y'all, you never want to be the person that gets in your own way of receiving the happiness that you deserve in life. So don't get in your own way. And in this video, we are turning a trend into a lifestyle, because if you want to actually see results, then I feel like you need to not really look at things from a quick fix and not put so much pressure on yourself, but make it a lifestyle where you understand why you're doing the things that you're doing, so that you can actually continue to put the effort towards your goal without like burdening yourself or making yourself feel like this level of stress of, oh my gosh, I have to get this done within this time frame. If you want to experience things not for just a short season, but you want to continue to feel good within your body as you are creating the life that you want for yourself, stay tuned for this video, because you don't need a great lock-in, you need a mindset shift, and we're gonna get into that. So just a quick disclaimer, I had to record this video in 3 different sessions, so you are gonna see 3 different versions of me, and I hope it don't throw y'all off, but I am continuing exactly where I left off from the previous recording. So anyways, let's get into this. Hey you guys, welcome or welcome back to Love Awa. If you are new to this channel, hi, welcome. I hope you're doing well. Today we are talking about the great lock-in trend that I see going around. And y'all, every year we rebrand this. Oh, it's the last 90 days of the year. Lock in, lock in, lock in. But why do you only have to lock in when the seasons are changing? Why don't you just lock in completely in life but have balance? Because a lot of these topics, which they offer great advice, right? But if you want there to be longevity in just the things that you are trying to put forth, the effort, the habits, the mindsets, and all of that, you don't want it to just be short term. You want it to be something in your life that becomes a part of your lifestyle, where it just becomes second nature to you because you understand the value of you doing it every single day. You have purpose in why you show up and do these things every single day, or every however so often that you have to do it. But to make it a trend is a way to burn yourself out. And I just feel like, y'all, I get the purpose of the trend, and I think it's great because it helps a lot of people get into it. But how many times do you start something and then maybe 2 weeks later you stop? And listen, y'all, I'm not judging, because I've had my fair share of this, which is why I'm now explaining my commentary in the way that I am. Because honestly, I feel like this requires a different approach, because like I said, I've been in the shoes of starting something and not completing it because I tried to make it a challenge or hop on a trend. But once I got to a point where I started to really like have intention behind the things that I was doing to make it a part of my lifestyle, I no longer feel like this burden of, oh my gosh, I have to do this within this time frame because of this reason. And also, I don't focus on the whole just like goal aspect. Now it's more so about the journey, because the reality is the journey is where everything happens. But now to get into the great lock-in, for many this lock-in is a source of accountability and also motivation for them to get back on their grind and just really achieve the goals that they know deep down inside that they really want to achieve. And then for some, it's actually a great preventative to seasonal depression that a lot of people unknowingly or knowingly experience. And if you are serious about becoming the better version of yourself that you know you could be, or if you just desire change but you don't really know where to start, or let's say if you do know where to start but you just realize that every time that you have started previously in the past, so basically you struggle to maintain your pace and just keep your word, this video is for you. And before we start, I have some nuggets of wisdom that I do want to share just so you have an idea of what to expect in this video. So let's get into that. So for one, you could expect to understand the importance of maintaining boundaries with yourself, because oftentimes when we talk about boundaries, we talk about it outside of ourselves. But I feel like when you get to a point where you can really enforce strong boundaries with yourself, so that's ultimately like the foundations of like your self-respect, your self-love, when you can maintain boundaries with yourself, it makes it so much easier to maintain boundaries with other people. But if you notice that you're shaky on your boundaries with other people, it could be because you are shaky with your own boundaries, because if you were solid in your boundaries with yourself because you understand the importance of it, you respect yourself, it will ultimately reflect in the relationships outside of yourself, because everything is a mirror. What you experience outside of you, it shows you something about yourself that you can learn. So it's like, take the ego out of it, y'all. Listen, take the ego out of everything and really hear what I'm saying, and I hope you get what I'm trying to say. But let's go to the next one. Next is understanding the importance of daily non-negotiables. So this is like, I feel like moving with intention, right? There are some things that you just do by ritual, by habit, because it's like there's a reason why you're doing it. Like, you understand the effects of it in your life. So basically, these are things you do by ritual, by habits, like things that you consistently do in your life because you understand the value of it and how it helps you function in some sort of way. So whether it's like having a good morning routine because you understand that how your day starts sets the tone for like the rest of the day, and even if things do go bad throughout the day, you are able to like better balance yourself out. Or let's say, for example, like daily prayers, like there's a reason why you do that and you understand the importance of it in your life. Or affirmations and just like visualization, it helps you like stay on track to like motivate yourself. Or let's say like drinking water and eating food, like you need that to survive. So there are certain things that like you just have as daily non-negotiables that you know, like, okay, this is beneficial in my life in some sort of way. And this next one is really big. It's learning the importance of delaying instant gratification for long-term payoffs. And this one is the one where I feel like a lot of people tend to fall off because we want immediate results. We want to feel good. But it's just like when you're like trying to grow and like get yourself out of certain comfort zones, or just positioning yourself to experience bigger things in your life, you have to understand that you're not always going to see results right away. And that's oftentimes when people tend to like fall off or not really feel like that motivation, because it's just like you're putting in work but you're not seeing the reward for it. But in this case, you have to not be so focused on the reward. And one thing that is so important is to fall in love with the journey of getting to the goal versus focusing on the goal. Because once you get the goal, it's just like, okay, like what's next, right? It's not to say that you don't like learn to, I guess, like enjoy or be grateful for it, but it's ultimately the journey that's like the most fulfilling because of the things that you learn, the wisdom that you gain, the experiences that you have. So y'all, listen, when you don't see the results right away, that doesn't mean, oh, just back out. Like, nah, stick through. Next is understanding that to really experience growth, a lot of times you're gonna have to go through uncomfortable seasons, and you have to be okay with leaning into the unknown, because ultimately the unknown is where a lot of beautiful things happen. And sometimes it may not appear that way automatically, but like, just you have to go through those seasons to even like figure out if it's worth it. You get what I'm saying? One thing that I realized is you could be comfortable, but like in the back of your mind, you know that there is more that you could be doing there. You know that there's more that you want. And it ultimately comes down to testing your limits, but that comes from not fearing the unknown. And yeah, you can have fear of like not knowing what's to come. And I just did a video on this on my other channel, Awa Awaken. Y'all can find that down below. But when it comes to just like, you know, like experiencing new things, you have to be okay with leaning into the unknown and getting uncomfortable to experience that. And it comes down to also understanding that a lot of times like your comfort zone keeps you in this stagnant place that like you may not be all the way like happy in, but because it's comfortable, it creates this illusion of, you know, like you're fine. And of course you can still be grateful for whatever season you're in, right? You don't always have to be experiencing these extravagant things in order to feel like fulfilled in life. Listen, peace is always the best thing. But what I'm trying to say is your comfort zone can keep you stagnant, but once you become consciously aware that your comfort zone is keeping you stagnant, it no longer feels like a comfort zone. It actually starts to feel really uncomfortable because you know that you want more. And the beginning of understanding that your comfort zone is no longer so comfortable usually comes after you start to acknowledge that you have limiting beliefs that is holding you back from making that jump to experience the unknown. And in this video, I'm going to be dropping some really helpful tips that's not only going to like have you operating from a space of, oh, let me come and join this trend, but really like learn to become a lot more intentional so that you can create this in your life and make it your lifestyle. Like you are actively creating the reality that you are proud of, and it's not just this trend, it's not just this short-term thing, it's something that you can ultimately like incorporate into your life and really just like experience the fruits of it. But like I said, it comes from you operating from an intentional space, a purposeful space, and most importantly, understanding your why. Why are you doing it? What is the purpose behind it? What are you trying to gain from it? And I feel like once you have all those answers, it helps you stay on track a lot more. Ultimately, understanding what is your driving force for maintaining your pace, but also trusting the process, even when you don't yet see results. Here's a little hint. It's about choosing the person that you know that you could be, that you are wanting to become. And ultimately having the self-awareness enough to consistently check in with yourself, to really ask yourself and be honest with yourself. Are you operating from a space of power and knowing that you are capable of doing the things that you want to do? Or are you operating from a space of fear and scarcity? Because all of those mindsets, all of those limiting beliefs really do play a crucial role subconsciously in how you are showing up. And it takes for you to be consciously aware enough to be able to check yourself when necessary. But we're going to get into that in these points. So y'all, let's get into this video because the intro was a little long. But listen, y'all, in this video, we're not here to play. Let's get into it. Luckily for today, because I have confronted my own limiting beliefs, because y'all, I'm human as well. Listen, okay? We can be confident, but sometimes you can have this feeling of like, oh, am I going to get everything right? But y'all, listen, that is not only for short-term success, but I'm hoping that you can utilize long-term to really like just create as your lifestyle because you are being intentional. And now I'm here to help you reflect on just all the important factors that go into getting started or even just strengthening your self-improvement journey. So commonly when people talk about glowing up, I feel like they come from the perspective of just thinking about glowing up externally. So just like appearance and things like that. But y'all, I just really want to emphasize glowing up externally and only focusing on that is temporary, and it is just a band-aid. If you really want to glow up, you should focus on glowing up internally, because ultimately what you feel on the inside, like what you truly genuinely feel on the inside, will reflect on the outside. Like I feel like there's no way to really mask that. You can feel not so good on the inside, but if you like try to cover it externally with all, you know, like just the beauty enhancement and all of that, it still shows up in your personality, in the way that you carry yourself, in the way that you operate with people, your beliefs, and all of that. So yes, I do feel like glowing up externally is important. It's a part of the process, right? Because you have your external and you have your internal, but it's also really important to pay attention and be intentional about glowing up internally. That is what naturally and authentically reflects externally, because as within, so without. That is where true unshakable confidence is built, no matter what changes externally. So just because you don't have your hair done, you didn't get your nails done, that does not then change your confidence level to where you value yourself any less. But when you know how you are inside, that is what ultimately sets the foundation to how you truly feel about yourself. Even if you might have like a little insecurity of what you feel like is not right externally, but you can still remind yourself based on all the internal work that you've done that you are still a valuable person, and the externals don't play a role in changing that or make you any less of a person. So just to dive deeper into this topic, I want to really focus on 5 key things that I feel like have really helped me like be a lot more intentional about life, but also like different areas of my life that I feel like it was super important for me to nurture in order for me to feel like this genuine fulfillment in life, where I'm not relying on like temporary outside fixes to make me feel happy or to make me feel like life is worth, you know, like just like building upon. You get what I'm saying? And those 5 areas of my life that I feel are super necessary for me to intentionally pour into every single day is my mental health, my emotional health, my spiritual health, my physical health, and my financial health. But before adjusting or adding anything into your life, I think it's really important to be conscious enough and self-aware enough to really be able to reflect on your current foundation. So be real and be honest with yourself and ask yourself, where are you now in life? What are the things that you're happy about in your life, that you want to keep in your life, that you know is fruitful in your life? And what are the things that you are unhappy about or unfulfilled about in your life? What are the things that you want to change? How do you want to change it? What are the different factors that go into into why it makes you feel fulfilled or not fulfilled. And of course, there's like many different questions that you can ask yourself, but also think about the version of yourself that's like the highest version of yourself that you can imagine yourself becoming, that you aspire to be, and really just ask yourself these different questions of what does she look like? How does she think? How does she move? What are her habits? What choices does she make? What things does she avoid? And just a whole lot of different questions that you can feel free to ask yourself just to kind of get an idea of like how close are you to the person that you want to become, and what are the things that you need to adjust in order to get closer to that path. So to start off, we're going to be discussing the spiritual aspect, and this is really like being conscious enough to know when you're in alignment and when you're out of alignment, but also, you know, prayer and also seeing things from like different perspectives so that you can consciously and intentionally make choices that align with creating the future reality that you see for yourself. So for me personally, I love to use prayer, meditation, and intentions to guide my direction in the right path. So first, we're going to be talking about your spiritual health. And I feel like this is where it's important to really understand the whole aspect of being spiritually aligned and consciously creating the reality for yourself that you see best fit for the future that you desire for yourself. And just to keep it general, that would look like using prayer, meditations, and intentions to guide your direction. First and foremost, regardless of your spiritual beliefs, so whether you're religious or you're spiritual, this is really about your connection to Source, God, the Most High, the Divine, and understanding your purpose. And even when you don't understand it, leaning on God and that internal compass in order to guide you in that direction. And I talk about this content a lot on my other channel, but it's really about understanding that you are a spiritual being having a human experience. So you are experiencing both the 3D physical that we are currently in right now, and you are also experiencing the spiritual realm at the same time. And the reality is not everything is seen with the naked eye, but a lot of things are felt. And in order for you to really feel those things is for you to be as grounded as possible within yourself in order to be able to see that even when you don't see it. And to really feel and to see is to be conscious enough and grounded as possible within yourself in order for you to really like see everything that's going on around you. And I say this without judgment, but many people say that they believe in the Most High God, but a lot of people don't genuinely move like they do believe. And I understand, like, as humans we have a lot of fear and just like everything that we like operate from a mental space that may not help us connect to that higher self. But it's like, if you say you believe in God, then you should know that God wants the best for you. And just because you don't see God and sometimes, you know, big things aren't happening in your life, doesn't mean that things aren't working behind the scenes to work in your favor. I honestly feel like it's truly understanding that you are a fragment of God since you are a creation of God. And if you ever need to tap into God, God is always accessible to you, but are you aware enough to hear it? And sometimes you're not always going to get the answers that you want right away, but it's still being like open enough and receptive to receiving that information when the time comes. And when you understand that, you also understand that you are actively co-creating your life with God, and you have to just be present enough and be as intentional as possible to really move in the direction of the reality that you say you want, and do the things intentionally and consciously that lead you into that direction. So at the end of the day, you and God are a team, but it really is up to you to decide like what side are you playing on, and are you like confident in the side that you're on, and are you confident in God the way you should be confident in God to say that, okay, these are the things that I want to manifest into my life, and if God knows that it's in the best alignment for you and just the growth of your life, then why wouldn't it happen for you? So it's asking yourself the questions of, are you willing to pull your weight? Are you willing to embody the energy and just the discipline and all the character traits that you need in order to be the version of yourself that you see yourself becoming? And this one is important. Are you extending godly love, grace, and patience with, and are you actually able to be receptive to the information that you are getting, you know, like your intuition, without brushing it off? Because those are things that are guiding you that you have to be consciously aware of, like taking in and saying like, okay, I feel this like deeply within myself, and trusting yourself enough to say like, okay, I'm gonna go in this direction because you know that it aligns with the things that you are trying to create. And most importantly, are you maintaining integrity and your morality in this life? Because I just feel like that is really important for your conscious, and also that builds a level of internal confidence within yourself outside of like the external things like your beauty and all of that. But when you know that you're solid within, and like that's something that's not like shakeable, I feel like that just builds a level of confidence that spills into other areas of your life. So I say all of that to say there's a certain level of belief in knowing that God is actively creating life with you, and you should be confident in just the steps that you are wanting to take, removing all the fear, the doubt, the uncertainty, and be willing to walk into the unknown without knowing how it's going to play out, but giving yourself enough room for it to play out as life unfolds for you. And I'm sure that many of us have already had experiences where like you've noticed that when you truly believe that you can do something, just the confident energy that you put behind it will show, and it will manifest the very thing that you are wanting. So it's just like you have to move like that even with things that you feel afraid of, things that you feel uncertain about. Just move with, you know what, I trust myself enough to say like I'm capable of trying and I'm capable of getting it done despite the little roadblocks and just like the difficulties that may come with it. But I trust in my own capabilities to say I'm going to do what I need to do in order to create what I want. So all right, so some things that I prioritize daily, and I mean daily, is prayer. So morning and night. And I feel like this is something that has become a lot more just like frequent for me, a lot more consistent for me when I feel like my faith grew a lot more stronger. And obviously I'm saying this from experience because I talk about on my other channel how like you can say you believe, but it's just like, do you really have that connection the way that you should have that connection? And when I really learned to have that connection and actually feel the connection, I feel like it became a lot more easier for me to just pray, like, and understand just like the importance of it, and just, you know, being intentional about the words that I put out into the universe, because I know that words hold power, and life and death is truly in the power of the tongue. Do not underestimate that saying because it's true. And obviously when it comes to prayer, I feel like you should pray whatever is on your heart, right? And for me, I love to operate from a space of gratitude, a space of just like being like mindful, and really just being grateful for everything that I am blessed with, even the intangible things. So when I wake up in the morning, I love to pray about thank you for waking me up this morning, expressing my gratitude for being able to move my limbs, for being able to breathe, for having another chance to create my life and another chance to really just experience life. And you know, like all these other things, like a lot of things that people don't understand that like you are taking for granted. And even if you aren't taking it for granted, you don't realize until like say you are unable to do something where you realize how like important of a role that it has played in your life. So in the morning, I just like to cover those things just to express my gratitude, but also I feel like it helps to really shape just like the foundation of the start of my day, because you know, when you start off with gratitude, it helps you see things from a better perspective. And of course, when it comes to the evenings right before I go to bed, I love to pray about just like being thankful for making the day, and also just like a protection prayer over myself, praying for like my loved ones, and bringing conversations to God and having whatever conversation that I feel is on my heart that I need to just like put out there. I'll talk about that and just really like pray that I wake up the next morning and then I close my eyes and we do it all over again, right? So honestly, I feel like prayer is a really great thing because it keeps me like focused. It keeps me intentional about the way that I move in life, because when you truly believe that the things that you are asking for is being heard, is being listened to, you move different. Like you move with a different level of confidence I just cannot explain. It's not to say that like you are still like walking in the dark in life in certain things and you might not have the answers to everything, but it's still at the end of the day like what will be, and I know that God got me at the end of the day, so it's nothing to fear. So ultimately, I just love to feed my spirit with wisdom and also just like reminders of the experiences that I have had that God has shown up in my life as a way of motivation to keep me intentionally aligned with the direction that I'm trying to go in, while releasing fear and just walking in faith and confidence. So even if there are delays, it's being conscious enough to say like, okay, what can I learn within the delays? Like, what am I I missing? What can I do better? How can I better prepare myself so that when the things that I'm asking for, when my blessings do come in, I know how to properly handle it. Be okay with surrendering. Have a level of acceptance, have a level of detachment, and just trust the process, because things may not unfold the way that you want it to unfold, and God might have different plans for you. So just be open and receptive to the path that you are being led down, and just be optimistic throughout the journey so that way you can see opportunities as they show up, even if it might not be in the way that you would have thought it would. And this really ties into like the mental aspect of things, which we're going to get into now. But if you have any limiting beliefs based on things that people have spoken over you or have projected onto you, I really need you to understand that words hold power, and whether you understand like consciously or subconsciously that you are taking that information in and possibly internalizing it, I need you to like override all of that and like speak life over yourself and really reaffirm yourself with positive things, because those things do play on your subconscious mind, whether you believe it or not. So if somebody's told you that you're incapable of doing something, or you're never going to do anything right, or whatever the case is, scratch all of that out and really just like talk life over yourself and say like, I'm able to do this. I'm going to do this. You know, like I'm that girl or that guy if you're watching this. And when you intentionally speak life over yourself and you consistently do it, you will start to like reprogram your mind. And even if you don't believe it at first, you are going to believe it, because the reality is the energy that you are putting behind those words, that is like an increased level of energy that is fueling your actions and your beliefs. Next is also having really good spiritual hygiene. And y'all, this is something that people really don't talk about, but it is so important to have good spiritual hygiene. And what I mean by that, again, is understanding that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And you have to be really mindful about the things that you come into agreement with, because it can really throw your energy off, because we want to stay as aligned as possible while still having like off days, but being as aligned as possible without like inviting or even like being the disruptive energy within our lives that is unnecessarily delaying us from our goals. So basically, it is being consciously mindful and learning to view things from a spiritual lens, so that way you can see the energy that is attached to the things that you may be coming into agreement with. So then you know whether it's an energy that you want to come into agreement with or not. And this is something that I'm going to speak about on my other channel, Awa Awaken, so y'all can find that down below in the description box. So when it comes to people, place, things, habits, or whatever the case is, it is utilizing your discernment and your wisdom in order to evaluate the energy that is being spent, but also the return on the investment. So it's like, let's say for example, if you come to a certain level of like healthy balance within yourself, you've learned yourself, you know yourself, and you are being intentional about operating from a healthy minded space and just really like nurturing yourself, loving on yourself correctly, having the right boundaries, you will then set like a good foundation for yourself. And then when you are experiencing toxic people, toxic places, toxic habits, toxic mindset, you will then realize like how coming into agreement with those specific things are throwing off your energy, in order to then discern and say like, okay, this thing is not healthy for me because it is negatively affecting my energy. And it's so important to be consciously aware, because that is what helps you really like understand that, or even see when the energy shifts are happening. So when you have good spiritual hygiene, you are able to identify the things that uplift your energy and the things that throw your energy off balance. And it's really about being intentional about avoiding the toxicity as best as you can, and choosing to lean more into coming into agreement with the good things that do uplift your energy and don't drain you, don't make you feel like bad or anything. You want to be around things that make you feel good, that replenish your energy, and that really inspire you to just become the better version of yourself. And like I said, I'm going to dive deeper into this specific topic about spiritual hygiene. It's something that I've been working on the last 2 weeks on my other channel, so stay tuned for that. So now we're going to be talking about mental health, so your perspective, your beliefs, and just like your inner self-work. And this is where your internal foundation comes into play, so really focusing on your self-identity and your mindset. And y'all, perspective is truly everything, and the mind is a powerful thing, so be really mindful about how you are utilizing it, and if you are letting it work with you or work against you. subconsciously and consciously. Because, like I said, if you are not consciously aware, you don't realize how your subconscious is guiding a lot of your actions and your beliefs. But when you become conscious aware of yourself, you then can identify those negative limiting beliefs in order to then shift them. But if you are not conscious of it, and you are not conscious of the subconscious, you don't realize the power that you have in order to shift things to work out in your favor. And self-reflection is such an important key thing in order to help you gain clarity, emotional balance, and also just inner wisdom. Your subconscious mind and your beliefs are truly what affects your actions. So commonly, before becoming consciously aware, most people don't understand that they are operating from their subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is always processing things, whether it's accurate or inaccurate. But here's the thing, your ability to consciously become aware will ultimately determine your ability to acknowledge but also adjust your thought processing where necessary, so that you can then set a healthier foundation of your thought processing when it comes to particular situations. And you are operating from a space of, okay, I'm like picking out the facts and what's false and what are just like feelings and assumptions, and actually moving based off of valid information to then set the foundation to everything else within your life. So to begin, it is really important to rewire your mindset and your beliefs. So you can start asking yourself questions like, what are your fears? Where do they stem from? And do you trust yourself and your abilities? Because most people don't realize it, but when you set goals and you start and stop, or you leave it incomplete, you are showing yourself in a sense that you lack trust within yourself. And your consistent lack of completion is like subconsciously reaffirming to yourself, like, you know, that little tiny voice in your head that you are unable to complete the goal that you are setting, or like the fears that you may have behind feeling like you may not be able to just like get to that goal, or you feel like it's too far of a reach for you, when it's just like, no, pace yourself and get to the goal. Or even just this fear of like not being able to get the results that you want, so you feel like, why even try? A lot of people have those subconscious thoughts but aren't conscious of that thought. And I've noticed that the best way to really build trust within yourself is to keep your word with yourself, and to really follow through with the goals that you have for yourself, and be realistic about the goals that you set, so that way you are giving yourself short milestones to reach, so that you can then notice like, okay, I set this goal and I'm completing it, versus like starting from here trying to set a goal here and you're not thinking about the little goals in between. So of course in your mind you're gonna think like, you know, especially because people want that instant gratification, you just want to see the results getting to the goal. But it's just like, think about the process and all the little goals that you are completing that is going to add up to that end goal. So that way, with those little small gratifications, you can then train your mind to show up even in moments where you may not feel like it. But because you've gotten small results that you are acknowledging out of gratitude and the perspective of gratitude, you are then able to continue putting actions towards your steps. And I feel like it's really important to understand your why, because when you understand your why, you are a lot more intentional, and just like, you know, you keep yourself on a certain level of track, and you learn to pace yourself, and you learn to be patient with yourself on the journey, but still keeping your mind on the end goal. And like I said, sometimes it's not even your own voice that is holding you back. Sometimes it is the voice of others. So like I said, if people have negatively projected onto you or spoken their insecurities of themselves over you, that can like subconsciously play on you to make you not put the effort in, because you feel like, well, if they think this way, like, why would I even try? Or some people, it's just like, it can like play on your mind that like you feel confident about something, but other people may not feel confident about the thing that you feel confident about. And it's just like, well, what if they're right? But it's just like, no, don't think like that. Like, you say you want to get something done, you believe, and give them the boot, okay? Like, just block them out. And it's not easy, but it does get easy once you get past that phase of like just the acknowledgement of like, damn, like other people don't see the vision that I have, or other people are saying like, you know, like, oh, it's not gonna work out, or whatever the case is. But listen, y'all, God is powerful, and never underestimate the divine, okay? Never. So again, if you subconsciously take on that negative energy that people are sending your way without transmuting it into something positive, utilizing it as like fuel to basically say like, you're speaking this negatively over me, but I'm going to let that just just fuel me even more to keep pushing forward. That's one thing, that's transmutation. But it's just like, if you're like taking in what they are saying to you and it's just negative projection, if that is still subconsciously within your mind and you are giving power to it, it will reflect in your actions negatively and it will cause delays within your life. And some ways that that can manifest is through stagnancy, fear, or just even self-sabotage. And we don't want to do that, y'all, okay? And it's not to say that you're not going to have like moments where you might mess up and things like that. So it is important to be graceful with yourself in those moments. But when you become consciously aware that you are self-sabotaging out of like different reasons, which I'm going to do a video on self-sabotage as well, when you realize that you are operating from that space that is negatively affecting you, it is of your best interest to flip that and to work on that. You know, it's like that saying, like, when you know better, you do better. There gets a point where when you really say you want something, you will put the steps in to want and do better for yourself. And that is where rewiring your beliefs come into play. Think of yourself as a computer. Your positive thoughts and your positive beliefs are like the apps, right? While the viruses and all that negative stuff is the negative beliefs. You want to clear your hard drive, your software or whatever of those viruses, and you want to fill it with productive apps that are going to benefit your life. So one thing that I absolutely love doing is setting some time every day to really just like acknowledge and empty out your thoughts. And I know a lot of times people be like, oh, they don't have, like, you feel like you don't have enough time in the day to just be still. But y'all, we have time. We just are filled with so many different distractions, like our phones, the devices, people. And listen, y'all, the time that I know for sure I got is when I'm laying down about to go to sleep. I set aside about like, I usually stay up for a while once I get in bed, but that time when I'm getting ready for bed is the time that I love to just reflect and really just, like I said, empty out my thoughts, acknowledge the things that I need to acknowledge. And I usually do this like around prayer time as well. So one thing that I always recommend is just going on a mental diet. So it's basically like a mental detox from all this toxicity. So honestly, I cut out the politics, I cut out the social media drama, I cut out just the gossip and all of that, like things that just feel like burdensome and heavy on my mental that I just think about and I'm just like, why is the world like this? It's not to say that I don't acknowledge it, but I try not to put too much of my energy into it because I know how like those things will affect me. And again, it's about protecting your energy. So I think it's really great to limit your social media time because y'all, nowadays people spend a lot of time on social media. And I'm not saying this from like a judgmental place, but I'm saying like a lot of people talk about how much time they spend on social media. And I just operate from a mindset now of like, create more than you consume, but also don't allow social media to just take up your days and your hours within the day because y'all, life is going by too fast. And when you really think about social media, you realize how much of that time is you paying attention to other people's lives when you can literally be putting that energy right back into yourself and manifesting the things that you want within your life. Because imagine all the time that you spend reflecting on other people's lives. Imagine you did that with your own life and you were intentional about the actions that you just did day by day to really like create your life. Imagine how much you would get done if social media just wasn't there. So when they say it is that damn phone, they really do mean it. Like for me personally, I don't really keep up with social media just because I feel like as a content creator, when you're constantly having to be online to post content, you just feel like this burnout of I don't even want to be on the apps. And it's just like when you're in a space where you're trying to create, it's just like I don't have the mental space to take on other energy because I feel like it's limiting me from creating. So for me, when it comes to like the whole drama aspect, I don't keep up with it honestly. And I'm not saying like you can't tune into like the gossip and things like that because you know, like who doesn't love a little gossip? But I just feel like on an everyday basis, it's a bit much. So for me personally, like one gossip channel that I absolutely love is Messy Mondays with Goddamn Zoe. That 1 hour video a week is my dose of gossip where I'm like, okay, I'm catching up on everything and he's breaking it down really well. And he's giving commentary where I'm just like, okay, I can get down with this. That is my source of gossip, but I don't take in so much of it outside of just that time period because like I said, I'm trying to focus on creating my life. So when it comes down to like going on a mental diet, is really thinking about the things that are affecting your mental negatively, but also things that could be triggering your emotions. So it's about setting boundaries with the things that are draining your energy and again, being consciously aware of that. So let's say for example, if you have a friend or family or whatever the case is, a person who is constantly like codependent on you to trauma dump on you and they are just just like draining your energy with their problems, it's okay to detach from that and get a little busy, because especially if you're in like super empathetic person, it's hard to like detach yourself from the negativity and the trauma dumping that's happening if you don't have emotional boundaries. And that's a topic that I talked about on my other channel, about learning to observe without absorbing. But it's just like, again, like nobody want to sit there and just like do that all the time. And although I'm not telling you to like shut out the world, even though this is something that I did before I knew how to balance that, because that can be a little toxic, just because you have people that you care about, you know, people that you may have to interact with, whether it's work or just in your personal life. You can't always shut people out. So I do think there does require a certain level of balance, and I think it really comes down to just spend more time being intentional and focus on yourself, and also create more than you consume. And if you are like energetically entertaining something, just make sure that it is pouring into you in some form of way, and that it is adding energy into you, which I'm not sure if I mentioned in this video, but on my other channel I'm going to be doing a video on how to spend your energy like currency and how to view it like currency, so that you are making investments in the right way. So I am not telling you to not be there for your loved ones, but what I am saying is to have strong emotional boundaries with yourself, so that you are not betraying yourself. Because for you to extend boundaries for other people, you have to extend that to yourself first, and it requires for you to be consciously aware of how things make you feel in order for you to then feel protected within yourself, and then you extend it to other people. And it might not seem like a big deal, but the reason why it's really important to check in with yourself and to just like clear out your thoughts and things like that is because your mind is like a mailbox. You are constantly getting mail. If you don't check it, it's gonna just keep piling up. When you physically see a pile of mail, it can get overwhelming, because it's like, wow, like there's so much and you have to go through it. Just the thought of having to open each one and unpacking it, it's a lot. So imagine like your mind, like thoughts that you didn't think about that you have in your mind, but you know that you can't just dump it and just bypass the mail, because there might be something important in there that you need to acknowledge. That's the same way with your thoughts and your feelings. You should take the time out to unpack it, because the reality is, if you don't check your mail, you are likely to miss something important that does require your attention, and you don't want to be in a position where you are missing something that would have been beneficial for you to acknowledge. Let's say you acknowledge something. You, in that moment of being consciously thinking about it, can decide like, okay, is this something that's important for me to think about? Is this something that is just like a thought that, you know, is not really important? Or is it something that I need to like really take time out to unpack? Or if it's something that's stressing you out or something you're trying to figure out. But to say that like you're just gonna like ignore everything and just let it bypass, it's just like you're only causing a lot more anxiety. And they say anxiety usually comes from just a lack of clarity and a lack of direction. And you know, like of course there's more to it, but just like when you feel overwhelmed and anxious about something, sometimes it's because like you just, it's so much uncertainty there. But if you can do yourself a favor and just acknowledge your thoughts and just set some time aside for that, honestly, I just feel like it would help a lot in like better decision making, but also like having a clearer just idea of like where you're going. So now that we got the mental aspect out of the way, now we're going to dive into the emotional aspect, which we're going to talk about just emotional availability, stability, and being grounded within yourself. So when it comes to emotional availability, I feel like it's really just being in tune with yourself enough to like give yourself the space to be emotionally available with yourself. And to be emotionally available with yourself is to not fear your emotions, is to not like run away from them. And you know, there's so many different types of emotions, but allowing yourself the space to actually feel them, but also like work yourself through whatever emotions that you are feeling and acknowledging them and validating yourself. So I just think it's really important to make time to check in with yourself whenever you need it. And at first this can be a little difficult if you are a person who grew up maybe neglecting your emotions or not really knowing how to validate yourself and really tap into your feelings. So as an ex-people pleaser, I used to neglect my own self and my feelings in order to prioritize like making other people feel comfortable in their feelings. But it's just like when you realize like that's like not operating from self-love, even though you may have the best intentions for people, you still have to care about yourself first. And if you are neglecting yourself to like make other people feel good, it's like you're abandoning yourself. And that's, you know, like if you're gonna love on anybody, make sure you're loving on yourself first. Make sure you're pouring into your own cup, so that way you can extend that to other people. And remember, if you're gonna do anything, never let it be to your detriment, because at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you are good. I feel like once I started to heal and once I started to really like do the work and unpack a lot of things and really just unlearning like unhealthy mindsets, unhealthy habits, or just the way that I went about things, and learning how to have a healthier relationship with myself emotionally. And y'all, this is not an easy journey. I started my healing journey like 5 years ago, and I would say like within the last 2 years, I feel a lot more confident within myself. It now is like second nature to me to not neglect myself. So in the beginning of my healing journey, I had 2 years of therapy, basically getting an unbiased opinion and perspective on just the things that I was feeling and the things that I was trying to unpack within my life. With my therapist, I was able to really be raw and authentic about my experiences and the things that I was feeling with people, with myself, without having to like feel like I had to like restrict myself, because at the end of the day, y'all, I was paying her a pretty penny per session. So I would definitely say therapy has helped me so much on my healing journey, just because, like I said, I felt like I was finally able to share my thoughts with a person that did not know me, that did not know anybody that I knew. So it was just like, okay, I need to get this off my chest, and I need you to let me know what you think. Let me know if I'm bugging. Let me know, how do I handle this? And she helped a lot, and I thank you so much, Miss Therapist. But I would definitely say after a while, I started to feel like, okay, this feels more like a vent session versus like you helping, just because I feel like I had reached a level of self-awareness to where, although I was expressing myself to her, I was also giving her solutions that I had as well, and she would just validate them. So it was kind of just like, okay, I'm paying you a pretty penny just to listen to me talk, because by the time I'm done talking, the session is over. You know what I'm saying? But I would definitely recommend, because one thing I always say when it comes to just like situations in life, yes, other people can play a factor, but you also, it helps for you to also take accountability in your situations, which also helped just within my growth, because it's just like, okay, like this is helping me and I'm not afraid to like correct myself basically. And it also really helps me a lot to see things from a spiritual perspective, because like I said, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and life is not just what we see. There's things that go on behind the scenes that you feel, that you sense, that your intuition and that gut feeling is picking up on, and sometimes you got to lean into that also. So that was something that really helped me also just within that journey, which is another topic that I briefly discussed on my other channel, but I'm definitely going to do like a deeper dive video on that topic, so y'all check that channel out. And y'all, I always used to hear people say like, oh, journal, 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 and I thought it was just something cute people were saying, because you know, we all had like little diaries when we were younger, even though like, yes, we were talking about things, but it's like when you get older, sometimes those like childlike things that you do, you don't realize how like beneficial it still is for you to like continue that habit. But I would say a lot of people got out of the whole diary thing because it's just like, I can't trust that somebody's not gonna go read it. But I would definitely say, like with my therapist, she will tell me, you know, like journal and things like that just in between our sessions, so that way like I could keep track of the things that I was feeling. And y'all, when I say journaling has helped me so much, and I'm not even gonna lie, like in the beginning it was something I did when I remembered or when I felt like it, but then I got to a point where I did it a lot more consistently, and it was such a game changer for me, because I was able to actually put my thoughts into words. Like, it's one thing to go from like not acknowledging your thoughts and not being conscious of them, to being conscious of them, to trying to like make sense of it because you got so much going on in your head, to then be able to like translate it onto paper and actually like see it make sense on paper. And then let's say when time goes by and you continue to work on yourself, you then go back and read those old entries to see like, wow, like this is where I was and this is where I am now, and I actually see growth. Like, I see how things have changed, and it's such a motivational like thing, because it's like, wow, like, okay girl, you actually like doing your thing, you know? And when you see that, it helps you build like a sense of trust within yourself, because you see that you're able to acknowledge, you're able to reflect, you're able to validate, and you're able to grow. And that's just the beautiful thing. Journaling is literally like a great sense of documentation of your growth process, and I think it's great. And then for some people, if journaling may not be your thing, another form of tapping into your thoughts and just like keeping yourself grounded is meditation. And not to like create like a hierarchy, but like if you're able to like meditate and like actually like process your thoughts and things like that, that's a form of journaling, but like you're doing it mentally versus like something written. So in meditation, you can't necessarily obviously like document that, right? Unless you have like really great memory, but it's being able to like capture your thoughts as they come and process them as it's happening. And I feel like when it comes to just like meditation, yes, it can be utilized as a sense to just like bring calm and peace to yourself and, you know, bring yourself back to earth, but it's also like a great way to like just be quiet and be still, especially in this day and age where everything is just so fast paced, everything is just so many distractions. Like, it's like there was a point in my life where I couldn't find like time to just be in quiet. Like, even when it was quiet, I would have a video playing, some music playing, talking to somebody, and it's just like, girl, just chill. And meditation is a great way to, you know, like bring that into your life and really just like be still enough to hear God. Like, and when I say hear God, again, like God is within us all, but are you allowing yourself to tap into that? And just like really like those little thoughts that just be flying by and those little thoughts that come up in your head that pop up, you will be surprised how some questions that you have and you're seeking answers, how in those moments of just stillness, you will just get a thought where it's just like you wouldn't have even thought of it, but it may be a solution to your problem that you may be having, or just a question that you have. So y'all, do not underestimate meditating. And I just want to say, when it comes to meditating, like don't put so much like pressure on yourself, because I used to be like, oh, I'm trying to like just still my mind, and sometimes thoughts will be coming in, but it's really just acknowledging them and then letting it pass by if it's not something to acknowledge. But like to sit there and say like you're trying to completely blank your mind, it's like it's gonna cause you to go into like this overthinking and just like stressing out. So y'all, if you're gonna meditate, don't put too much pressure on yourself, because when you first start meditating, it'll have you thinking like, am I even doing this right? But just do whatever you're doing and just let it do what it do, okay? So now let's get into the physical health aspect, where we're going to be talking about grooming yourself, your appearance, working out, and eating clean. So I'm sure most of us, when we say like we want to level up or we want to take better care of ourselves, a lot of us think about eating cleaner, working out, moving your body, really like taking care of your appearance, grooming yourself, keeping your hair and your nails did, and really just getting to a point where you feel confident within your body and how you present yourself, how you take care of yourself, and how you just love on yourself, right? And like I said at the beginning of the video, a lot of people tend to focus on working on the outer without working on the inner. So I started with the inner because I feel like that's really important to like how you like translate things externally. When you look good, you feel good, but also when you feel good, you want to take care of yourself to look good. So it's like it goes hand in hand. But I would definitely say like the more that I started to work on myself internally, I was able to like translate that outward because I cared more about myself. The self-love that I had was there, the self-respect that I had was there. So it ultimately showed in how I presented myself on the outside. So when it comes to the aspect of grooming yourself, I think it's really important to be mindful of how you're showing up, because the sad reality of the world that we live in, this world is shallow. And even if we're not thinking about the world that we live in a sense of like, people treat you better when you take better care of yourself, when they see that you take better care of yourself. And y'all, trust me, I have experience with this because I did a little experiment. Like, I used to go down in a deli with just sweatpants, and then I would go down the deli looking good, not going just to go look good, but it's like if I was passing by the deli before I like went out and I stopped to get me like some gum or something, they would treat me differently. People really treat you different when you appear a certain type of way. And it's not to say that you have to go overboard with how you take care of yourself or how you show up. Designer and all of that is not necessary, because y'all, I don't do all of that, but I make sure to keep up with my hygiene. Why? Not because of just how people treat me, but because it makes me feel good to know that I'm grooming myself properly. Contrary to what like people will be trying to say with this whole great lock-in trend of, oh, like, you know, like the no November, so it's like you're not getting your hair done, you're not getting your nails done, you're not grooming your eyebrows. And it's not to say that all of that is necessary. If you love yourself in your natural form, that is okay. But I just feel like when you look good, you feel good, and that translates in your energy and how you show up and how you interact with people. So it's just like, why not take care of yourself? So during this great lock-in, you don't need to go spend $600 on a bust down wig, get your nails done for $200 and all of that. And y'all, I know all of this because I was a lash tech you know, for 5 years. But I just feel like there are more affordable ways to go about these things where you can still put yourself together without breaking the bank. Because in this season, listen, y'all, we trying to grind and make sure that we are building, you know, for something great, and not just like poorly investing money. Because I'm not gonna lie, like even as a person in the beauty industry, or was in the beauty industry, to spend like over $200 on things to me is crazy. Like that is gonna last you like 2 weeks. I think it's crazy. So that's why honestly I stepped out of the industry, because it's just like, damn, like yeah, I'm good at what I do, but I wouldn't make this investment. So it's just like, how do I even, especially in this economy, I don't feel right even telling people like, oh, come invest your money and book a service with me. Like it would just feel real hypocritical to me. So yeah, but you know, the girls in the beauty industry, get your coin, okay? So I'm sorry, but this is not the season to not take care of yourself. When you show up for yourself, you are showing yourself, you are building trust within yourself, you are building confidence within yourself to reach the version of yourself that you want to show up as. Do not slack off because you are trying to lock in. You can still lock in without going on the extreme end of saying like, I'm gonna just like not take care of myself at all. There are definitely affordable ways to lock in on a budget and still be confident and show up confidently. And I'm gonna do a video on this because y'all, I haven't like paid for a beauty service in I don't know how many years. I do my own nails, I locked my hair, I do my own retwist, I do my own feet, and I just want to do a video where like I'm showing the girls like you can still present yourself in a classy way and be on a budget and save your coin. You might have to make a little investment in the beginning, but it's just like you won't have to like keep making investments. You don't have to paint your nails, you don't have to put in a weave or anything like that, but keep yourself well maintained. Cut your nails down, clean your nails, no black nails over here, you get what I'm saying? Also, please y'all, this is not the season to dress down where you just look like you don't care about yourself. Actually put effort into yourself. And I truly do empathize with people who are going through mental health issues or just feel like you don't feel like you're in a space to really like put your energy towards that. But please just try your best to like at least, you know, put your hair up in a ponytail. If you're gonna throw on some sweats, at least make sure they match. Y'all, I'll be honest, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, I don't understand everyone's position, but what I will say is like work with what you have, and don't, especially in this day and age, feel like you need to spend like $1,000 on an outfit in order to look good. Listen y'all, I will go to 3rd Avenue or I will go to Shein or whatever, go somewhere where the prices are like $10 and affordable and make the outfit look good. You get what I'm saying? Just match or like, you know, play around with things. But this is not the season to not take care of yourself or to groom yourself or to just slack off. And I'm gonna repeat this again, how you put yourself together, it reinforces to people subconsciously or consciously how they will treat you, how they will show up, but also how you will treat yourself and how you will feel about yourself. So like I said, don't be your own op and just like slack off. Take care of yourself and show up like you care about yourself. And one thing I would say that I'm personally learning when it comes to just like fashion and stuff like that, don't just go buying stuff just to buy it. You know, buy things that like you can like see this as a staple item that you can mix and match in multiple outfits if you want to make the most of your investment. Don't go buy stuff that's like cheap and then the material wear down and now it's just like, oh, I can't do anything with this, because then it's waste of money. So now we're going to be talking about the physical aspect of your body. So now we're going to be talking about moving your body. And y'all, there are so many different ways that you can move your body and everyone has different goals. So I think it is really important to, like I said, reflect on what it is that you want, what you want to change, what it is that you want to see happen, and like do your research or follow other content creators, or you know, like go on YouTube and look at like workout videos, whether they're low impact or high impact, that is going to get you to your goal. And of course, like I said, don't think so much about the end goal. Like if I say I want a snatch waist and a big booty, I'm not going to think that I'm gonna just get it in like a month or something. You get what I'm saying? Like take the time out, but also don't stress so much on the results. Take your time and enjoy the journey of just like building that momentum and showing up within your body, and not be so focused on the results. Like for me, when it comes to my workout journey, I am not in a space now where I'm like looking at, oh, I want to do like heavy lifting so that I can see the gains right away. Honestly, I had to be real with myself. Like some of those workouts felt like really just like straining for me. It just felt like this is a lot, you get what I'm saying? But I came to learn that I love low impact exercises. So I love Pilates, I love yoga, I love stretching, I love just like cycling, y'all. I recently got into cycling and I did not know the girls be packing back there with cycling. So Instead of me going to go lift heavy weights and being in the gym and all of that, it's just like I can do all of these things. So the main thing when it comes to your body is don't let it get too comfortable. Don't be too still, because I feel like when you're still, like, life is just like dying. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's really important to like move your body, because people feel like, oh well, I'm young, I can do whatever I want to my body. But it's like, y'all, people be saying once you hit 30, like, things be slowing down. So I think it's really important to like just get in the habit of like moving your body. Like, whatever age you are, move your body, because it will keep you young, it will keep you, like, just strong, and it'll keep your bones and things functioning. Because like with anything, when you don't use it, it starts to get a little rusty. And y'all, we ain't trying to be rusty, we trying to be old and fit and looking good and in our prime still. You get what I'm saying? So when it comes to working out, I do not like high impact workouts. I love my Pilates because it's low impact. I'm still able to gain muscle, but it's like an exercise where I feel like I can do that consistently, and I don't feel like I'm operating from a space of like, oh, I'm gonna see results right away. But it's like, okay, like, this is low impact, but I'm willing to do this throughout my journey because I actually enjoy doing it. And when the results come in, the results will come in. But I feel like around the time when I was doing heavy lifting, I wasn't really enjoying it, and I felt like the only thing in my mind was like, oh, I'm trying to get the gains. And it's just like, it didn't make the process fun for me. Versus like now I'm operating from a space of I just want to move my body, I want to feel good while I'm exercising, and I don't want to feel like I'm doing a job or like a chore. I just want to do it because I want to do it. And I found that low impact exercises are that for me. So personally, I feel like 3 times a week, 4 times a week is a great workout schedule, because you do want to give your body time to recover, because they say that's where like all the goodness happens. But it really comes down to knowing what it is that you want to see change in your body. But also, like I said, like, don't be so stressful on yourself. So whether it's you like walking to work and that's your form of exercise, or it's you doing yoga, or it's you doing cycling or running, or even heavy lifting to see those gains, all of that is great. But make sure you're operating from a space of, this is going to be a part of my lifestyle, but not something that I'm trying to like do within 3 months so that I can see results quickly. So when it comes to working out, less focus on results and more focus on feeling good within your body. And a crucial thing is to not compare yourself to other people. Everybody's body is not the same. Everybody's not going to get the same results. Some people got it genetically, some people don't. Some people getting their bodies done. Listen, y'all, focus on what you have and enhance that. Same thing with clothing and how you show up and how you dress. Wear things that are great for your body type, and not focus on like someone else's body type and trying to like make it work with you. What works for your body type, dress up in that. And like, experiment with clothes and like, try out different things, so that way you can really learn. Or like I said, check out other content creators who have your body style, where you can pick up on tips on how they like, dress up and things like that. Because everything is not going to work for everyone, and that's okay. But it's like, do what works for you and rock out with that. The pressure for results just makes the process, honestly, like, just not fun at all. And it makes me not want to continue with the goal that I have set, but to operate from a space of, I'm being curious and open to trying out new things so that I can find out what I like. So mentally, I began to see working out as something positive versus like a dreadful task. Next, when it comes to just the aspect of working out, food and how you fuel your body goes hand in hand with that. A lot of people like may have like unhealthy relationships with food, and I used to be that person before I built a healthy relationship with food. Food is not the enemy, but you have to view food as fuel for your body. So if you're putting garbage in your body, you're going to like fuel it with just like garbage, and you're gonna feel sluggish, you're not gonna have energy, and you're gonna see like just negative results. Versus if you are feeding your body life, you are going to see life within your body, because food is energy, food is fuel for your body. So basically, you are a car and food is gas. Make sure you put in that good quality gas up in the tank, so that way the car runs smoothly. So luckily, if you are interested, I have documented my food journey, just because I have a food page, so you can just see like a difference in the way that I used to eat versus the way that I eat now, and just like how things have changed. And I also did a video on acne and how like the food that I've eaten has affected my acne and how I've healed my acne. And I still get a little breakouts here and there, but you know, like that's just hormonal and sometimes just like things that I put on my skin. But I'm not gonna lie, like I still enjoy foods that do sometimes negatively affect my skin. Like yesterday I had this fire triple layer cheesecake, strawberry cake, vanilla cake for a 1-year-old's birthday party, and y'all, that cake was so good. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna take a little bit and you could just have the rest of my slice. Girl, when I tell you I bodied that cake, so it's just like if I were to get a little pimple from that, I wouldn't be surprised. But it's just like I'm being graceful with myself, because it's like I'm not going to just like say I'm gonna cut it out completely. You know, like cake is cake, and I only eat cake like, you know, maybe like 4 times a year. So I enjoyed my slice of cake, and that is me being graceful with myself, because it's just like, listen, I'ma still enjoy the food, but I know that my main source of intake is healthy, so I'm not gonna trip about it. And another key thing is to not overeat. So I know like sometimes people stress eat, sometimes people binge eat, and it's just like when you are trying to like reach a certain goal, or even just like have a healthy relationship with food, you have to like get to a space where you eat when you actually feel hungry. And that's you having to be conscious enough with yourself to say like, am I hungry or am I not hungry? Because in moments where you are having like the unhealthy relationships with food, and you're like snacking a lot and eating a lot of unhealthy food, sometimes you're grabbing the food and you don't even know that you're grabbing it, and you don't even know that you're not even hungry, but you're just eating for whatever, maybe like emotional reasons or because you're bored. So that's something that I had to learn like a few years ago, like making sure that I'm actually eating because I'm hungry and not because I'm bored. You get what I'm saying? Also, as a person who is healing from my acne, I definitely got into juicing, and I absolutely love juicing, because I feel like, yes, I drink coffee, right? But I noticed that like there was a period where I stopped drinking coffee so that I can actually like learn to fuel my body without like having to rely on caffeine. And y'all, green juices and just juicing different types of juices and having that in the morning kept me fueled for the day. And I was just like, wow, like I don't really even need coffee the way that I thought I did. So I absolutely love to have like my morning ginger tea or like green tea, and then, you know, I have like my green juice, and then I'll eat like a little fruit protein breakfast, and then I'll have my coffee. So that way like I gave my body enough time to like energize and nourish itself with healthy things. Also making sure to have like at least like 2 glasses of water before I even have my coffee to hydrate myself, because coffee is dehydrating. So you want to make sure that you are keeping yourself hydrated, so that way when you do take the coffee in, it's not really throwing your hormones off like that, because you have balanced yourself out pre-caffeine. And then y'all, a gallon of water throughout the day is a non-negotiable. It just helps to flush out the body. But you have to also make sure that you are not just drinking your water, that you are also eating your water. So I love cucumbers, I love watermelon, even though I'm a little like iffy with that because it does spike your blood sugar fast. Cucumbers, salads, and just like, you know, fruits and things like that are really good for hydrating your body, and you're getting like a lot of nutrients and vitamins from that. But ultimately, I just believe that a balanced diet is just like crucial for everyone, of course based on like your body type, what it is that you want to see, and just making adjustments where necessary. But I think it's really important to like not restrict yourself. And finally, when it comes to your financial health, obviously like this one I feel like is going to be different for everyone, because everyone may have different jobs. But I think it's really important to just like be really intentional about how you are spending. Prioritize your needs and think about your wants before you make the investment. Is it something that you really need, or is it something that you can hold off on? Because in this season, we want to make sure that we are taking care of our debt, our bills, and we want to just like have like a good like reset, like take care of your responsibilities so you don't feel like this pressure on you. Of course, don't operate from a space of scarcity. When you have money, spend it, right? You know, like have a good relationship with money, because money is energy, and when you put out, you get back in return. So don't be so rigid with spending money, because if you are working, you also want to be able to like make time to enjoy it. You know, you don't want to feel like you're just working to pay bills and pay things off. You actually want to be able to like enjoy your money. So like set time aside to where you might take yourself on a solo date or go out with friends maybe every 2 weekends. But also for me personally, I learned that like I don't really like to spend too much money on going out to eat, because I like cooking, right? And y'all, sometimes the food just don't be hitting when you spend it outside, and when you spend a pretty penny on food that don't hit, that just hit a little different. So for me, I feel like now if I'm gonna go out, I rather like do activities and things like that, because I'm gaining experience, I'm having fun. and really just like enjoying my time. Versus food, you could spend like $100 on a check and just be like, okay, like what's next? But it's like you can go out, get you a little ticket to go to like a museum and exhibit or something fun and spend like $30 on a ticket and actually really enjoy yourself. Stop, get you a little Chipotle bowl for like $15, and boom, you spent $50 and you had a great day. So I would definitely say when it comes to finances, I feel like when everything else is in alignment, so your mental, your spiritual, emotional, your physical, I feel like finances tend to just fall into place because you are operating from a more intentional space. And when you are operating from more intentional space, abundance just flows to you easier because you are ultimately aligning yourself in a way that just like puts you in positions to receive those opportunities, but also be able to see the opportunities when it presents itself. So what I'm trying to say is like your mental will determine how you like decide what investments are worth making or not. You won't make like impulsive emotional decisions when it comes to your finances. You'll be like more like mentally aligned, spiritually aligned to say like, okay, like what job might be in more alignment with me in order for me to like really create abundance for myself. And on this journey, I think it is really important to be adaptive to your circumstances. You might have things planned, but God might have things planned another way, or life may just go differently than you plan. But it's like being able to be in flow enough to, like I said, see opportunities where they are. So operating from gratitude, not being so like attached and rigid, and allowing things to just flow, and you know, like just being open to like different things that may just like unfold in your life. So if things are going differently than you expect, just be open and ask yourself like, oh, you know, like what can I learn, or like what might be happening. Get curious, but don't shut down, and don't be like bummed out that like, oh, something is going wrong. Because listen, y'all, sometimes man's rejection is God's protection, and sometimes redirection again is God's alignment in your life. So don't be so fixed on things are not going the way you plan for it to go, because listen, you make plans, God laugh at them. So just always remain focused on your why, be adaptive, and just stay in flow. So to close out this video, really ask yourself like, what are you willing to just sacrifice in order to become the version of yourself that you see yourself being? What are you willing to do to create your most fulfilled and confident reality? Are you willing to let go of your uncomfortable comfort zone in order to grow and blossom into the beautiful person that you are destined to be? And not to say that you aren't that now, but just like the version of yourself that you just know, like, damn, like I really want to be her. Like, what are you willing to do, and what are you willing to let go of? And yeah, to some people you might feel like, oh, you're young and you might have life ahead of you, but y'all, time is flying. And it's not to say that you cannot enjoy your youth, but I would definitely say as a 26-year-old who has experienced a lot and just like in like a mature way, I've had responsibility since I was 21. I would definitely say like I'm grateful that I have done the work on myself at such a young age, because I always feel like the sooner you heal, the sooner you work on yourself, the sooner you become intentional about your life, the sooner you get closer to the goals and just the reality that you are wanting. The sooner you just get closer to the things that really align with your true self. The more you know yourself, the more you create the life that actually aligns with you, outside of what other people might want for you, but it's literally you are creating what it is that you feel works best for you. So trust me, a lot of what they try to paint for like the younger girls of, oh, you know, just wild out, do whatever you want, make all these mistakes. Listen, I get what they're saying, but like some mistakes you also have to understand like it can cost you, and you don't want to be in a predicament where you are regretting your decisions. So sometimes, y'all, whatever fun you think is out there, trust me, it is not worth it. So please do not get caught up in just that toxic idea. Like, yeah, when they say make mistakes, I feel like that's like try out things, be curious. But like to make mistakes that you know are mistakes that can really change the trajectory of your life, it is not worth it. Why not give yourself a head start to creating and living your most fulfilled life? This is your lock-in season, and we're not talking about a trend. We're talking about making this a lifestyle. What you do now and the choices that you make ultimately sets the tone and just the standards for your life. And you can always change that, right? But like I said, why not give yourself that head start and really be serious and intentional and consciously aware of what it is that you are creating, because you want to be proud of what you're creating. You get what I'm saying? Who are you choosing to become outside of what other people might tell you, your environment, or just the stereotypes? Who are you choosing to become? Because you get say in who you become and who you are. But I hope that this video really inspired you and that I gave you great tips on just like investing in yourself, because you are your greatest investment, and do not slack off on your investment. If you're going to invest in anything in this life, invest in yourself, because you will always get 1,000,000,000 fold of like just return back on your investment down the line. So make sure you are making yourself your greatest investment, because listen, we might not have things outside of ourselves, but you're always going to have yourself. When you are just blessed to like experience you as you are, that is like really a fulfilling thing. And I just pray that everyone strives for that. Become the best version of yourself, and do not allow other people or even your limiting beliefs to hold you back from becoming that version of yourself. But anyways, I will definitely be doing more topics like these, because y'all, listen, we're not here to talk. Like, let's do actions, but let's do it in a way where it's like you are really like getting down to the foundation to have a solid foundation, and not just doing things that are not like steady. You get what I'm saying? But anyways, y'all, I thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you in my next one. And let's lock in, y'all. But let's lock in with balance and intention, because at the end of the day, that is what's gonna get us where we need to get. Be graceful with yourself, be patient with yourself, love on yourself, and love others, and not to your detriment though. But anyways, y'all, all right, bye.